Hello and welcome to Off the Press. I'm Felicity Ezewuike. Thank you for joining us. With me this morning to discuss the major headlines on the dailies is a constitutional lawyer and a rights activist, Ufeli. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you. Good morning.
Always a pleasure to have you join us. Today's World No Tobacco Day. It is a day set aside to raise awareness about the health hazards of smoking and tobacco use. The theme for this year is tobacco and lung health. It is intended to encourage a 24-hour period of abstinence from all forms of tobacco consumption around the globe. Let me ask you, Evans, before we go to the papers, because it's a very topical issue at this time. Do you think that is possible to get people to abstain for an entire day, especially for chronic smokers?
Well, I think it's possible if they are determined because of the health implication that tobaccos are substances that contain narcotics and psychotropic substances in them, which are harmful to the health. I mean, even smokers know this, okay, but it's because they have to deal with the addiction factor once the portion that has to do with addiction is addressed. Then it will release the mind. It's all about the mind. With positive information and the right information, I think it's possible.
Okay, let's hope people will abstain for their own sake and their health. All right, we have a couple of papers this morning. We have the Punch, this day, Vanguard, the Nation newspaper. We're going to start things up with the Punch newspaper this morning. We have a screamer here and a picture that's not too nice. We have APC State Chairman defer over call for Shomale's resignation. That's it on your screen. You find details on page 2. And of course, the picture on the front page, the governor of Lagos State, Sanwo-Olu, and his deputy during a visit to Apapa Port to get a first-hand update on the traffic, environment, situation, and relocation of trailers in Lagos, where we're hoping, for the sake of all of us, that he pulls through with finding a lasting solution to that Apapa gridlock. All right, there's a bigger headline on that one also underneath that picture. You have Sanwo-Olu orders road repairs, directs LATSMA to work till 11 p.m. That's on page 6. And to other not-so-pleasant stories this morning, 5 feared dead as IPOB attacks Catholic priest others in Anambra. We also have hoodlums in army uniform vandalize fuel pipelines in Lagos. Nigerians become poorer in Buhari's first term. That's the opinion of an economist. You'll find details on page 2 of the paper. Let's shift to the top and see what Okorocha is in for this morning. There is controversy surrounds attempted demolition of Okorocha's monument. You find details on page 4 and 5 of the paper on your screen, and you'll see at the very prominent blue bar, Senate flays FG for spending 11 trillion naira on subsidy in 6 years. You have Adeleke qualifies to contest Oshu governorship election. Of course, that's a ruling from the appeals court, and Ambade's government was punished for lack of inclusiveness. That's ex-SSG. All right, let's see what's on the back page before we bring in our lawyer here. Aisha Buhari, conscience in the shadows. Friday musings with Ayo. You might want to, who is he talking about? Of course, it's Aisha, but from what perspective is he speaking this morning? All the details for you on the Punch newspaper. Interestingly, the paper is pretty light. It's back to its normal weight today, as compared to May 29, where we had very bulky papers with us here in the studio. So let's get straight to it. Which of this headline just sticks out to you?
Well, that of the APC chairman, there is actually the fracas within the party. The deputy chairman of the APC had called for the resignation of the chairman for arbitrary administration or administrative tendencies that he found to be high-handed. These are, whether you call it allegations or not, there are clear-cut indication that the APC chairman have, in a way, created more problem in that party than he should have solved the problems he met there, given that he had not been able to tolerate the opposition. That is one. That's the one we can see externally. And then there are internal factors that is also instigating some members of APC calling for his resignation. But it looks like the general chairman, the chairman of the states and the different other, they are saying, okay, that the man is okay, that he can keep going, that they don't see anything wrong in what he has done so far with the party. And I think why the in-house administration is calling for his resignation, some persons, and then outsiders are also seeing what is going on. I think that the APC chairman will need to be a little bit careful in the way he go about the issue of the party.
What about this someone moving around, getting right into action?
Well, it is expected. He is the new governor of Lagos State. He is now the chief security officer of the state. He will have to manage the economy of the state and then give the state a better perspective of governance. As regards the Apapa, it's important we understand that the man hours we lose there, the economic waste in that is very, and we should leverage on technology. I don't know why the Lagos State government cannot leverage on technology, telecommunication can address that issue. All the tankers need not queue up there, and then they can be somewhere. Once they are called on phone, then you drive through. Because the tankers you have there on the road, they are there because it's not yet their turn to load. So why don't you clear the road and then use phone to call whichever tanker that is supposed to load, to come in, load, and move out. You call the other one, it comes and, but we just queue there as if the road is only meant for them.
You're making it sound very simple. Is it really that simple? Because that's not something that happened
It's not
yesterday.
simple. It's not simple, but what I'm saying is that they are not using technology. You can use technology to address this. You can use technology to address it, because I have interviewed these drivers. What they will tell you is that they will soon be called. Okay, and then they're on the road. Then you have other persons who are also road users. In the law of negligence, there's what we call duty of care. You can actually go to court to enforce negligence, because everyone owed the other person that right to use the same road, just the way. So you can't just be on the road, you know, you are just there on the road, the tankers are breaking down, the vehicles are, you know, and then commuters are there. It's a huge loss to the state. Someone have said that it costs less to get goods from China down to Nigeria than to get it from Apapa to trade fair.
Yeah, I actually saw an
to trade fair. To trade fair, and that's the truth. Financially and logistically. So we can work on it, we can address it with technology. That's what I mean. Well,
let's see what Sanwo-Olu will accomplish. He's just getting, there's 2 days in office.
2 days in office.
I mean, we can just give him a little time to settle in. All right, we'll take a look at this day newspaper. We have this big one here. Senate. 11 trillion naira spent on fuel subsidy in 6 years. That's it on your screen. It has a couple of riders. 4 actually, approves 129.048 billion naira for payment of 67 oil marketers, holds valedictory session on June 6. Ask FG not to downgrade Enugu Airport. Leader accuses wealthy Nigerians of buying court judgment. A whole lot on that one caption. I don't, well, we'll get to in a bit, but let's see which are the rescind revocation of firearms licenses. House urges Buhari. What's at the top? FG reviews national security strategy, ties with allies. What's that about? Details on page 9. And at the very top of the paper, you will see with 47 billion naira budget for national carrier, analysts demand roadmap. That's something for you. At the back page of this day, we have Ikechukwu. Objection, Mr. President. What is the guest columnist objecting to this morning? Well, that you would have to read for yourself. But let's get to our guest this morning. Senate, 11 trillion naira.
Yes, that's the biggest story on this day. 11 trillion naira spent on fuel subsidy. First of all, they should apologize to Nigerians, this administration, because when they came in, they told us that subsidy has been removed, because the landing cost per liter then was about, I think about 140 or thereabouts, and then at some point it increased. Now, when it increased, they started paying subsidy again, okay? But they've told us they removed subsidy. They brought an allegation that it was increased, and now they've removed it and they've added money. And then we're going to have this. We have lost this already to the marketers and whoever imports and all that. But the question you're asking yourself is that did we really spend this 11 trillion? Did we really spend it? Because we have situations and allegations where marketers fill papers, connive with the people at the PPR and all that, connive with the people at the Petroleum Industry Development and all that, and before you know it, they are paid the subsidy. They didn't bring anything in and all that. So these are questions we need to probe. NNPC have a lot to tell us about what they do with our resources governance.
Do you see the Night Assembly, this new assembly, probing this? Do you see them doing that at all?
Well, the Night Assembly, well, they have not been inaugurated, which is going to be June 9 or thereabout. It is expected that they probe this, but much more than that, the civil society must come together to probe issues like this. People must learn to go to court to ask for explanation, okay, because these are Commonwealth being depleted. And then the policies that surround our natural resources, if you look at the UN Charter, the UN Declaration on Natural Resources, it is for the good and benefit of the entire citizens. If you look at Section 16 of the 1999 Constitution as amended, it stated there that the government shall stir the economy, shall stir the resources of the economy for the benefit of all and sundry. Section 14 sub 2 of the Constitution says it is hereby accordingly declared that sovereignty belongs to the people, to which government derive legitimacy. That security and welfare of the people shall be the primary purpose of government. This is supposed to be for the welfare of the people. But there is no probity, there is no transparency, there is no accountability. They just dish out figures and then we absorb it and then we move on. That is why our roads are bad. That is why there's no electricity in Nigeria in the 21st century. That is why we have no public health care system. Okay, it's because of this monumental waste, monumental corruption on check and all that. So until we begin to probe this, until we begin to put people exactly where they belong for mismanaging the resources of the country, we are not going to move forward.
This is about FG Review's national security strategy ties with allies. That story is actually on page 9 of the paper. It's actually on page 8. So Army warns saboteurs, accuses NGO of aiding Boko Haram. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I believe what the Army have said. I believe that information. Why I believe the information is that people aid Boko Haram, just as we have the civilian JTF that assists the military in giving out information to curtail the combat. Okay. Conversely, there are people who are enemies of society, who are not practically carrying arms, but who also supply information, even within the army, to the enemies. Okay?
How can we find these people? Because if we have people like that, we wouldn't know where their power comes from. It could be a poor man, it could be a rich man. So don't you think that these people might be sabotaging? They might even be in government. We don't know. So
of course.
What is the implication of that on the fight against corruption and insurgency?
It weighs down the fight because these people, with the level of compromise, okay, they put the insurgents ahead of the security forces. Because all you need is information. Have you asked yourself why each time they are ambushed, you know, how did the enemy get to know that the army, they are going to pass through a location? I lost a friend in the army who, they were ambushed, okay? As they were on motion, the enemies came and struck them. You understand? So somebody must have informed them that so are. You understand? So I think that there must be more of intelligence gathering. The army must also use technology. I don't know how well our army, how equipped they are technologically. I don't know how well they are combating these enemies and all that. We need to do more, and we need to be serious about it. The presidency needs to work more on the service chief and then see to the end of this crisis.
Before we move on to the nation, could you talk quickly on this national carrier, the analysts are demanding a roadmap, and then we have this Joseph for technical partner and some other banks look earmarks for investment in what's your thoughts generally on this national carrier?
Yeah, the national carrier, I think it is shameful that after the demise of Nigerian Airways, I mean, for over only God knows how long, 20-something years, we have not been able to come up with a formidable national carrier in terms of aviation. If you look at countries that are in Africa that are not even as close to Nigeria, countries like Kenya, Ethiopia, Rwanda, you see they have national carriers, formidable one, with world-class management, good aircrafts, okay, that do international and all that. But we are losing a lot there. And then they came up with Nigerian Air, okay, which at some point were told that the administration of that particular national carrier has been withdrawn for a while. And then they are looking into to get more consultants. These are things that we can't really explain why things are not working here. Sometimes it is because the leaders have made up their mind not to make things work, and the followers have also made up their mind not to probe them or not to put them on their toes. That is the result of what we're having.
The Nation newspaper is next for review. The headline here, the screamer actually, is Shagir APC should return to court on Zamfara Rivers. SAN advises party to seek Supreme Court review of verdicts. House knocks Buhari's order on gun licenses. Appointment as governors resume. VP will defend trust reposed in us. And of course, terrorism army warns saboteurs. Police arrest 6 NURTW men in Oyo. Woman commits suicide in Lagos. This is just one too many. Yesterday, we read about a young journalist who also took his life. He seemed to be the one that advises people and talks, but out of the blue, he died on Inauguration Day, May 29. And here we have another one. Woman commits suicide in Lagos. I really don't know what's going on. At the back page of The Nation, we have anticipating the next level. And of course, the usual hardball is here today. It's looking at delayed demolition. But before we look at all this headline, I want you to speak on this seeming increasing cases of suicide in Nigeria.
Well, it's tied to a lot of factors. There is an economic side of it. The economic side of it is that so many persons have given up on this country, and they've given up on life entirely for the fact that, first of all, the government have not been able to provide basics, okay? And that is telling on us seriously. A country where you have no health care system.
Yeah, but these are reasons. We know that there's a lot of factors. These are factors. But how can people rejig their thinking to look beyond these challenges and know that, I mean, when there is life, there is always that tiny little, no matter how little, there is always that hope.
Yes, people must understand that no condition is permanent. And this is both sides. Things are rough today, they will become very rosy tomorrow. Things are rosy today, they could become very rough tomorrow. Just both sides. So no condition is permanent. People should understand that. I mean, taking your life is, for me, I see it as a sense of cowardice. You should be able to brace up to the challenges of life and conquer it.
No, because that is why. As strong as you.
Well, yeah, we encourage that. We encourage that people should read more. Okay, people should find reason to live for the purpose, if not for themselves.
I like that. Find reasons.
Yes, for those who are close to them.
All right, let's look at some of these headlines now. Which is your favorite pick?
Yes, I like to look at the big picture there. That is, APC should return to court. Sage, SAN, I don't know which court is referring to. Because, Zamfara has gotten to, I don't understand. Zamfara got to the Supreme Court. Rivers State, they went to the Supreme Court, and then the Supreme Court gave judgment, even though you're talking about issues now. But what it should be telling APC is not what it's telling them. It should tell APC that when the Constitution and the Electoral Act and the electoral guideline of INEC have prescribed mode for primaries. That procedure must be followed. You know what they do in APC in the last election? They just gather and say, okay, you come. We just gather. We just adopt somebody.
They will disagree with you on that one. They'll tell you that they do have their primaries.
When they first of all, they had factions. And in the various fashions, they conducted primaries. And after conducting primaries, the party just submits another name. And then those who are disgruntled, they go to court. Because the Electoral Act have no place where you balkanize one political party, conduct different primaries all over the place. The party now endorses the name of one person. Every other person follows suit, and then all of us were in court. That is, you know what the Supreme Court told the APC? That if foolishness or carelessness is allowed to be advertised to this level, it will be monstrously and religiously rejected. That Lazarus cannot rise again. Those are the words of the Supreme Court.
So why would he, a senior advocate, be advising the party to seek a review?
That's why I'm saying that he should tell the party that the Constitution is the ground norm. The Electoral Act regulates electoral activity. The INEC guidelines supplements it in primaries in all the stages. Okay, those procedures laid down there must be followed. Otherwise, the Supreme Court will keep giving out this kind of judgment, because that is the only way to tame these political parties.
Quickly, I'm told we're out of time, so we'll just look at the vanguard. Insecurity, don't withdraw licensed guns reps, tell Buhari. There are loads of other headlines here, but I just want you to talk on that quickly, and then we'll just wrap things up now.
Yeah, the president wanted to withdraw license from people who own and all that, but there is a body, the Nation House of Rep, who is saying, okay, don't withdraw. People who have license should have it because of the nature of security in the land. Okay, but you address security, because when you say you want to withdraw guns, but you are not addressing security, you are not doing anyone good. It's better you make the country secure. Once everybody is secure, people will relinquish. Yeah, they will relinquish whatever defense structure they put in place before now, and everybody will be safe. We should be like the Scandinavians, where they are shutting down prisons everywhere because there's no point even committing crime over there.
Thank you very much, Barrister, for coming on the program.
Yes, thank you.
And of course, thank you for watching. Off the Press comes every weekday, 8:30 a.m. Do try and keep a date, and make sure you go visit your vendor and pick up a copy to get what is going on around the country. Thanks for watching again. My name is Felicity Ezewuike.